Thank you very much. Good to see such a wonderful turnout. As Ben said, yeah, we're very pleased to be involved with the AMCA and the broader community that you represent. So it's good for us to be involved now over a number of years, and we really do envisage a long-term relationship. Typically, for those who don't know us, we have grown out of the more traditional survey-based industry. We're a big family-owned company, but probably our main business, our core business, is the selling and providing survey solutions to the industry across everything from mining to infrastructure to land development projects. So that's where our level of expertise has traditionally centred. We obviously are very interested in progressing more into the construction space and particularly dealing with you guys. So that's a bit of background from our point of view. So we set up our building construction team about a year ago, and this is a little snapshot video of some interesting little projects we've been on. So that just gives a little bit of a snapshot as to the types of solutions we offer in terms of everything you've seen here in the last few days, scanners and total stations, and the solutions that go with them. Obviously, our range of products and solutions and expertise extends well beyond that into everything from laser levels to UAVs and the high-tech drones that we provide. So that's all good and well. Very happy to be involved in technology and everything that it brings, but I think our key strength is the company that we work for and the people involved in that company. So as I alluded to before, we're quite a big national company, offices in every city. We've got, I think, 100 odd staff just in our survey division. We've probably got 250 staff all up. So the offices all contain technical support in terms of teams sitting there behind the phones doing backup and support. We have dedicated service centres as well. So for this type of equipment, you can imagine the requirement to keep it up and running and valid in the field. So we've got offices that are fully equipped with the necessary servicing support, all accredited by Leica. So a lot of that you can gain from our website. But just drilling down a little bit further, we've got, I think, within our building construction team, there's myself here in Victoria. There's Matt Rumbelow, who I'll introduce in a minute. He's based in Adelaide, covers a fair bit of territory though. Chris Johnson in Brisbane. Again, he's on the road a lot, and we've got Rusty Webb over in Perth. So these are the guys that are literally dedicated to our building construction segment, and as I say, supported by the larger C.R. Kennedy community. So not only is it the solutions and the hardware that you see, but it's the team behind it that we really want to get across to you guys that we're here for the long haul, for the support and everything that goes with it. So we're not a fly-by-nighter, we're in it for the long haul. So yeah, without much further ado, you do want to hear more about the technology and our resident experts. Matt, as I said, works with us out of our Adelaide office, an architect by training, has spent many years though involved in the Autodesk suite of products with various resellers. He's even worked for our opposition briefly, and it's been with us 18 months, 2 years now, almost a year and a half, I'd say, Matt. Yeah.
Feels like more.
Yeah, but doing some great work for us, and our colleague from across at Leica, not across, he's not too far away, he's based here in Melbourne as well, Gregg, surveyor by trade, and I'd say a dedicated laser specialist, and there's not much he doesn't know about the products and solutions that we can provide. So I'll introduce Matt first, and he'll be able to give us a bit more detail on where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernie, and yeah, good to be with the AMCA yet again. So it's good to have some continuous involvement, which is, I think, key to making that relationship. Good to see some new faces in the front, some sort of old faces I know before from around the back, and some sad faces at the back. So we'll see how it goes for the rest of the presentation. Now, it wouldn't be a BIM presentation if we didn't have a pie chart of some description. So this is Leica's pie chart. It's actually pretty good. This is part of a campaign, I guess you'd call it, but it's also a booklet that's out the front, and we can obviously provide some digital versions of it, if you will, but called The Shift to Digital Construction. So, and it covers all of Leica's involvement, as Bernie said, from civil works, coming out for earthworks, all the way through to building management. So it's a good one to be just referring to constantly about where this sits and how these tools that we're going to see today can be used across multiple segments. We've got multiple customer bases now who cross over in some cases, in other cases hand on and hand through the data, which is great. So I'm going to start with the video. Autodesk trained me well. So now this is basically a review of probably the biggest product that we've had for a long time, and as far as impacting most industries that Leica wasn't normally associated with. It's the BLK. It's actually here. I understand if you didn't see it because it's that small, but I'll just recap what the BLK is for some of you in the room. Whoop. That's it. So all crammed into this device here are all of these features and probably some more. But certainly I made the title A Year in Review. It hasn't even really been a year that we've had the BLK, and already we've sold lots, volumes, but also more importantly who we've sold it to. So people who wouldn't have normally got into the scanning market at all, wouldn't normally have been able to integrate scanning as part of their just normal deliverable. And so that's engineers, that's some manufacturers, a pool repair company. Sorry?
Climbing wall.
The climbing wall guys? Yeah, amazing. Just amazing uptake of this device. And for those of you who are just a little bit interested in LinkedIn and online, there's a guy who's pretty prolific now, no it's not me, who's from the film industry. And he's talking about how it's used in set design, lighting design. Actually, lighting design, we've got another customer that his true story or his customer story will be appearing in the next Leica magazine. And they do projections and nighttime projections against built assets. So yeah, amazing. That's obviously in no small part to the collaboration, the working relationship with Autodesk. They were heavily involved in the BLK from its inception. Obviously, from a software point of view, it ships in the box with Autodesk Recap. That means it goes straight into your BIM workflows with very little skilling up. I mean, it's certainly almost is a single button operation. There's only one button on the front, that's for sure. With a little bit of understanding of Recap and how the clouds go together, yeah, amazing tool. Now, things have been extended, I guess, in the way that the BLK works, and certainly in relation to thermal, that's now been released across all the Leica products. A lot of interest in how that might apply to building design and getting that feedback from an initial understanding of a space and thermal performance of a space. So that's something I think we'll see a lot more. And the ability of just sharing those 360 panoramas, extremely impressive. So much so that we've actually had good success in some of the smaller non-Leica 360 cameras, just to get that idea of a spatial capture when you don't really need to go into a full scanning machine. So that's great. Now, speaking of that software, so that's basically the way it shipped, which was the Recap Mobile, the first app that was developed for it, which allowed you to use it from your existing, almost your existing, as long as an iPad Pro, existing hardware, and then transferred straight through into Recap desktop and therefore the BIM solutions from Autodesk. A few months afterwards, there was the release of the Leica Cyclone, Register 360, it's a long name, and that's a newly written or a new interface into how you can acquire Leica scans. So in the past, and I'm one of them, the Cyclone system is particularly particular, and a bit hard to get your head around. This has been a redesigned interface and a much smoother workflow, and you'll see a lot more development within that Register 360, which is sort of the entry level of the Leica platform, which is great to see. There's more a consumer-focused BLK app. That's just had its almost its year anniversary and its first point release, so that's 1.1. And that allows you for free to take 360s, simple scans, measure on site, and export to E57, which is a common file format. So that's a great way of working as well. And then, literally 5 months ago, no, less. We've been using it for longer, but as far as public release, Matterport, which is extremely well-known spatial capture system as well, but photographic, not laser. We now have the ability to integrate with their system, so they can use both the BLK hardware and the Matterport hardware, or if the need arises, just the BLK alone, but in their own system. And that allows a whole industry, really, of real estate capture, asset capture, to use the BLK now without any training at all, because it fits in their software and in their workflows already. It's just another camera that connects. And I think you'll see a lot more of that sort of openness in this type of device as well. So yeah, probably the smallest and the most open of the hardware that's around for scanning, which is great. What I wanted to do in this little section about reviewing where we're up to with the BLK is just show some examples. So this is a company that I work with in Adelaide. They have a Melbourne office, and they put together this video basically to show us what they've been up to. So Wilbridge, Gilbert and Aztec are structural engineers. They have a bit of civil engineering as well. They've utilised point clouds in the past through engaging surveyors, but they wanted to bring on this hardware to allow them to do jobs sort of ad hoc, and they were pretty confident they could handle jobs this size. They still engage surveyors for larger work, but this is well, I can't tell you where this is, but it rhymes with submarine, a facility in South Australia. So. So their workflow is taking this scan set for this job into Inventor, so Autodesk Inventor manufacturing fabrication type tool. Actually, you can see it here now. And then they do assessments on the structure and some additions for some change in some engine requirements where that was going into. So they admit they're fairly new to this workflow. They're not using any sophisticated extraction tools or fitting tools. Certainly that's on their path, and we hope to be able to assist them and do a little bit more analysis of the scans as they bring it in. Interestingly, they bought only 2 months ago, really. So when the RTC, I don't want to ruin your announcement, Greg, they were initially a bit peeved. They wanted to buy it as well, but they admitted that their directors probably wouldn't have gone to that level straight away. They needed something more of an entry-level machine to prove its worth, show how it would integrate with their delivery, show how they could schedule it between offices. They've got 3 offices. And so, yeah, it's a perfect sort of step into to spatial capture. And we'll finish on this one when it comes to the BLK. This was announced last night, so just in time for us.
My name's Brian Nickel. I'm the engineering division manager for Harvey's in Bozeman, Montana. We've started a collective engineering firm, and we work plumbing, heating, geothermal, sheet metal fabrication, as well as hydraulics and making heat in the Gallatin Valley. It's been around for almost 30 years. It started by Bob Harvey's father, Sam, and it started as a 2-man mom and pop shop, and it sort of evolved into a multifaceted fabrication firm. Clients appreciate the most about working with Harvey's the deliverable that we offer. Since implementing our Leica BLK 360 scanners, we've been able to provide them with as-built digital reconstruction point clouds of their homes. And so that works in numerous methods. Down the road, if there's a serviceability issue or some sort of event arises, they're able to reference back to that, and our service division is able to reference back, and it mitigates a lot of the reconstruction or deconstruction of retrofitting and modification needs. We rely primarily on Leica Geosystems because the BLK 360 allows us to do our job right and to do it once. We don't have to go back and forth between the schematic drawings and our engineered drawings. We're able to go out, scan the existing conditions, get real world verification, bring that back into our office without any sort of missing information because it's captured the existing conditions. We're able to validate what we've engineered and what we've designed to coordinate with other systems, electricians, subcontractors, other entities that are involved, and it ensures that the client is getting that end deliverable. The number one thing that our company, Harvey's, preaches to not just our employees, but also towards future clients, is that we provide quality with integrity that you can trust. So it's a matter of understanding and communicating to the clients that our end goal is the deliverable for the client. It's holistic. It's a holistic vision. We want to be able to provide the client with a deliverable that is valuable, that means something. More often than not, a client will go to a mechanical engineer, they'll provide a schematic drawing of what's going in their home, and then they'll send that out to several contractors, and it'll end up getting broken down into something completely different than what was initially designed. So our mission moving forward as Harvey's Engineering is to provide that deliverable to the client of what is actually going into that client's home. And it's for the added benefit that the client can have bargaining power in the future. They actually can negotiate future services that need to be done in their home because they have the documented systems in their hand, in their pocket.
But that was the BLK, and certainly we see it just growing as far as its input and impact into the market. But we were asked a few times, "That's great, I like it. Have you got anything just a little bit better?" And now we have. So with that, I'll pass you on to Gregg.
Thanks, Matt. As Bernie said, thank you. My name is Gregg Franz. I'm the laser scanning segment manager for Australia and New Zealand. CR Kennedy has been our distribution partner here in Australia for many, many years, so it's with great pleasure that I get to co-present with both Bernie and Matt. Let me go here. Probably about seven weeks ago at Hexagon, we announced our new product, which you can see here clearly in front of you, the RTC 360. And as Matt said, you need some clips to be able to make a new announcement. And of course, you need another one that shows somebody drinking coffee.
Having spent nearly 7 years working as a bid manager for a large construction firm, I've got a good eye for detail. My routine varies, yet the accuracy and quality I need for my projects never changes. Since I've started using the Leica RTC 360 laser scanner and Cyclone Field 360 app, I found a piece of kit I can totally rely on to get the job done. All I need to do is grab my tablet, and at the touch of a button, I'm ready to go. Within minutes, I've got the whole picture. That's a full data cloud and imagery, straight to my tablet, ready to be checked, marked up and sent on. This clever scanner knows exactly where it is, tracking its position with video cameras from one scan to the next, creating a coherent 3D picture of the site, even as I move between rooms and up and down stairs. In seconds, the Field 360 app links the scans, stitching them together into one clear point cloud that helps me do my job faster, easier, and with greater accuracy. Back in the office, it's time to check the scan data and catch up with the rest of the team. The RTC 360 has changed the way I do my job for the better. Documentation and workflow are simpler and quicker. I get so much more done in a day. With powerful automated software tools, I can focus on what's important, digging into the project's details and getting on with the next. Thanks, Leica Geosystems.
So the RTC was several years in the making. The RTC stands for reality capture. And there's some very, very interesting and unique technology inside, which we'll talk about in the coming slides. As Matt said, 12 months ago, we released the BLK, which has been fantastic. If you need to do things like check verticality of facades or you need longer range, our P series is still what we call our survey grade. But between the P series and the BLK, we had quite a large gap, and the RTC fills that gap really, really nicely. There's a number of key features about this which makes it so much faster than everything else on the market, and one of those is the 2 million points per second, which you've probably all heard about, and the other one is the Viz technology. This is a shot of Andrea. Andrea is one of our engineers in Heerbrugg in Switzerland, and it's funny when you meet someone and then in all the marketing material he pops his head up everywhere. And the RTC has really been from the set out. It's really been targeted towards plant and building construction, and actually a third segment as well, which is public safety, which is the police force and crime accidents and car accidents and things like that. But definitely plant and building construction is the key markets that we will see the RTC for. So right from the start, it was, as I said, it was really aimed for people like you. It was not aimed for traditional surveyors. And for that, we wanted to have as automated a process as possible. We wanted to have in-field checks to give you a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. And it was all about the images were just as important as the scan data. And the other part was that we wanted to have a solution approach rather than just building the hardware and then thinking about what happens downstream. So the solution itself is made of 3 parts. It's the RTC 360 unit itself. There's some Field 360 software which sits on a tablet, which really takes away that pinch point of the registration, which previously happened back in the office, which is great for new users. And then the third piece is the Cyclone Register 360 software, which you use back in the office. So the software on the tablet, Field 360, lets you see the scans as they come in real time. So you can see the project build up as you work around, which is great because you can see the areas that you've missed and make sure that you're capturing them. And the Cyclone Register 360, as Matt said, it's really about trying to make that as streamlined as possible. And as we say, it's drag, drop and done. It's really made it as easy as possible to do reality capture. As I said, there's some really interesting, unique technology inside the RTC 360. One of them is what we call the VIS, the Visual Inertial System. And we've got this great little clip here, which is going to show you what's happening. There's actually 5 cameras on the RTC, which are continually tracking as you move around. So it's all you do is you turn it on or off. You don't have to think about anything else. And as you're moving around, those 5 cameras are just keeping track of where you've been and where you've gone, so that when the scan's finished, it automatically knows where that scan is in relation to the previous scan. So that's a really powerful process, which makes it just so much more easier for new users to use. The other new piece of technology is this, which is what we call the double scan. Because it scans so fast, the head designer said, well, how can we utilise that? So what he thought is, well, if we can do 2 scans consecutively and compare the first scan with the second scan, you can do a comparison between the two and identify pedestrian traffic or road traffic, which makes that cleaning up process much, much quicker and easier. And as you can see, we're outside a shopping centre with a lot of pedestrian traffic. So that's showing one of the scans, what it would normally look like with all the pedestrians in there. And then when you bring that scan, that double scan into Register 360, it identifies the areas that weren't in the previous scan and it deletes them for you. So you can see pretty much most of that pedestrian foot traffic's disappeared. Skip that. But 2 very, really interesting, like I said, very unique pieces of technology which really help you out. So let's have a look at how this works. So I've connected to the tablet and all I've done is just press scan. We can see that the RTC has already started to scan. So I've got this set at a medium scan. There's 3 resolutions that we can scan at. Most people we think will use the medium resolution scan. So at the moment it's scanning at, well, it's actually scanning at 4 million points per second because there's a double pulse. And that's quite a technical feature of it, which enables white surfaces to be scanned really well, but it enables black surfaces to be scanned really well as well. So that's another piece of interesting technology in there. It will always scan, when it's capturing images, it captures a HDR image. It will always capture 5 brackets. Like I said, it's been designed to be very user-friendly. You're either capturing colour or you're not. It does sound like it's going to take off, but it's just going really, really fast. So when it captures the images, it will always be a minute. It won't be more or won't be less. So that's one of the reasons why it's so fast. So it's not only the 2 million points per second, it's the really fast HDR capture. And it's this viz process that we talked about, which overall, when you combine that, you're really gaining multiple efficiencies in gains in terms of capturing your data. So the scan's finished, and now it's capturing the images. And like I said, that'll take a minute. And previously, before you guys walked in, you can see that little red dot on the screen. That was the first scan, which was taken up there. The other interesting thing is there's 2 Batman ears on top of the instrument. They're 2 Wi-Fi antennas. That's one of the things that makes this process so fast. A lot of other instruments just have 1 antenna. That transfer of the data across is a really critical part of the process, which slows a lot of other instruments down. It's almost there, the progress bar down the bottom. I don't think you can see that because the bottom of the projector screen's not quite there, but it's just about finished. Well, there we go, ding, the light will go green. Oh, hasn't worked. But that's okay. One of the things we can do, if we do it right, is I can rotate that around. And this is one of the things, a lot of people sort of go, well, do we have to use the tablet? And the answer is no. You can actually do this without the tablet. And it'll work quite well. And all I'm doing here is just moving that into place. I'll get rid of that. And I'm going to link those two, start the alignment, optimize it. You'll see those two join together, and then we create the link. So in the nature of live demonstrations, it's one of those technologies. If I walked out now, the green light you would see blinking, and that means the viz is working. It actually tracks for 2.5 minutes. That's one of the unique things about it is if you have an IMU or something like that, that will start to drift, but because it's using photogrammetry, it can track in real time. So it's quite an impressive thing to do.
You see the 3Ds as well?
Oh yes, sorry, yeah. So that's one of the other things. So once that's finished, so I can pick that scan. This is the imagery. So one of the interesting things why it's so fast is the RTC creates what we call a lightweight preview object. So it's not transferring the whole 500-600 megabyte file, it's transferring a lightweight version of it. So what we see here is a preview of the image. I can actually change it so it's automatically changed the exposure, so it just makes it easier to see. And then I can take that back. And then the other thing is we can bring up the actual point cloud itself. And there's that was the first scan I did previously where there's nobody in there. So as I said, you can see the project build up in real time, which makes sure that you're capturing what you need to capture. So that combination of instrument, software, just really makes it much easier to use. All right, go back to here. So then the other part of the solution is software, and what we've just recently announced is our single file format, which is LGS. And there's been a couple of reasons why we've decided to release the single file. One is we've got a couple of different workflows, and each of those had different file formats. So to streamline that process, we've brought in the LGS file. The other thing that it does is we're capturing more information. One of the things I didn't show you is we can actually tag in the field. So I can connect 5 tablets, for example, or 2 tablets, and so I could be controlling the scanner. Matt could be walking around with his tablet and he could be taking pictures of PowerPoints or fire extinguisher labels to make sure it's the right type of fire extinguisher that's been installed, things like that, serial numbers of pumps, and that can get tagged and embedded in the scan data, and then that gets pulled through in the LGS file, and that can then be imported into AutoCAD, or you can see it in our viewer. It's not coming through in Revit just yet, but it will do in the future. And the other advantage of the single file format means we can get into a lot of other software packages, which really starts to make that collaboration aspect a lot better. We've got a few new tools. This one's just, I know we're in the a predominantly Revit environment here. This is obviously in AutoCAD, but this is just to be able to, a lot of people still create some, line work, and you have to do it as quickly as possible. This is just an example of a new tool we've released, which is basically we're just cutting a slice through the top of this building here, and then you can see the profile of the top of this this parapet here, and then with 2 clicks we can fit a line to this parapet. So it'll come around, and then we click a seed point and then a direction point, and then it'll automatically fit. There's our seed point and then the direction point, and then it has a bit of a think about where it's got to go. And there it is. So that's quite a good time saver. The other thing we can do is floor flatness and floor level reports inside AutoCAD, which is becoming more and more popular. In Revit, we've obviously introduced the LGS format into there. We can do some really interesting things like aligning the point cloud to the model. This is really, really new. I haven't had a chance to try that, but that's one of the things where a lot of people have been using the BLK, and aligning the scan to the model is one of those pinch points. So we've introduced a function to do that, and also the ability to see the thermal imaging from the BLK as well. This is just some of the other tools we have in here. This is our pipe fitting tool, which works quite well. Here we've got a really good clipping manager, which makes it really half the battle, I guess, with point clouds is really focusing on the area of interest, and having good clipping tools makes a big difference. So in this one, all we do is just click 2 points on where the pipe is, and it'll automatically figure out the center line and the diameter for you. So we've got those 3 pipes there. Can hide the point cloud and then connect those. And then once we've done that, we convert those to an actual pipe once we finish that last one. Now we're converting to the pipe. Bring back the point cloud. Having a one-button solution just to bring back the point cloud is a really good. Trim those 2 together to get the elbow in. Same for the 3rd one. Can bring back the point cloud again in a second. And then we can change that to like a Y section or something like that. So that's quite useful. Then we also have the same sort of thing for fitting structural elements. Again, we're just using our sectioning tools just to zoom in on these areas of interest. And again, it's just literally, a couple little clicks, and it's going to fit to a steel catalogue. Do the column, then do the beam. So that's really, really quite useful. And then, there's 2 more slides that I've got to show. This one is doing clash detection inside Revit. Here we're just selecting all the pipes in the model. And then bring back the point cloud. Doing the test now. And then you can view it in a couple of different ways. You can, show it in context or just isolate that particular clash, and obviously you can review those and determine what you need to do with them, which is really, really useful. You can obviously change the view settings as well. And then the last one is this one. Is that going to work? Maybe click there. No. Oh, well, 1 video out of the whole lot. It's not too bad. Yeah. Oh no, it's going now. Sorry. Yeah. So this is a really interesting form of detection. I've just created it. Now we're in Navisworks, obviously, and I've created a test, selected all the model components, and now we're going to compare the point cloud to all of those model components, and now we're going to try and identify what hasn't been installed. So it's going to find modelled elements which have no point cloud near it, which is obviously really useful. Now it's identified this light that doesn't have any point cloud around it, so that's what hasn't been installed. So that's quite an interesting function. So that's all I've got to show. But the RTC has been extremely well received around the world, as we've been showing. It's multiple times in terms of efficiencies that you gain, and we're really excited about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Greg. How long are we going till? Because I've lost track of time. 5 minutes? Excellent. All right, 5 minutes is more than enough. Two more things to show. It's been a busy, certainly been a busy couple of months. We've had the release of both the RTC, the new software, and also our new digital layout. Could be called Total Stations, but that name doesn't really give it the gravitas that it deserves. So I'll just show you what Kyle does with his.
Really, anything that can help me do my job faster and more accurately is always welcome. That's the main two drivers when it comes to layout: speed and accuracy. The setup pilot's amazing. You put the tool down, it spins around and automatically stations itself to the construction site. With the ICR80, I'm confident that even the most complex job sites can be done correctly. The biggest speed advantage of this tool is how well it stays locked on. I never have to spend time to go back and relock the tool onto the prism. The IFC file format and object layout is awesome. They work so hard on the files in the office, it doesn't make sense not to use it in the field. More data is always better than less. Leica Geosystem solutions can be seamlessly embedded into BIM workflows and processes. Leica Geosystems, you know, it has to be right.
So the Total Station, digital setout, digital layout, is basically the way of getting the hard, worked, sweated, scanned BIM models, to use that term, back onto the site, making sure that you actually can install and construct the way that it was designed and the way that's been verified by everyone up to that point. And without a tool like this, I think most of your BIM work's just being wasted for a degree. Because you're going back to tapes and measures and chalks and certainly not very non-digital workflows. So you may have seen this these on site. Just some scenarios where we find they're being used. You heard Vitalik yesterday, saying that almost every contractor that they deal with has a total station, has a setout, does digital layout. It's not what we're finding here in Australia. There's several reasons for that we understand, especially the way that the subcontractor market's been broken up. But still, the need to actually engage with this sort of tools, I think, is going to become more and more prevalent. And just to de-risk, which generally seems to be a catch-all phrase for making sure that you don't lose money on the job or the next one. So certainly we've got the technology to do that. Certainly we've got the technology that works through with the existing platforms such as Revit and AutoCAD that you're using. Expanding out through those platforms as well, just like in the scanning scenario. And the efficiencies are just a given, I guess, or self-evident for our American friends. I won't go through the video there of how it works in Revit. You can come and see us at the stand, and again, it's a pretty obvious way of going. But certainly the workflows are, I think, purposely aimed at various parts of the market. You've got a sophisticated site foreman, site manager, installer, maybe in the yellow workflow, which is the icon. That's our system on our tablets. But there's also an Autodesk workflow that takes that BIM model through BIM 360, which is their cloud solution, and integrates into an iPad workflow for some QA and some verification work as well. And so the acknowledgement there of two different types of utilisation of that data. The icon system actually also works with our existing surveyor tools as well, so we can actually have surveyors providing an icon type system and process, which again is great for both the data feedback to the designers and keeping the surveyor involved throughout the process, which is still very important. The new machines, bigger, faster, stronger, better, all that sort of thing. But certainly on the new ICR 80, the screen is much larger. I still don't think people are going to set out from a model on a screen, but you can certainly verify and check things on site from the screen because the size has got quite large. This is the interface for those of you who have an Autodesk sort of workflow and mindset. This is the way Autodesk connect to our machine, and you can lay out from that device as well. I would say, however, it's more a QA device. I think there's probably features, I know there's features missing in that iPad approach that you may also need on site. A couple more slides. So if you want to know more information, obviously come and see us at the stand or privately. A full schedule for the next couple of months of where we'll be with this equipment across the country. And we have that also available on our website, which I'd ask you to check. That's almost it. Oh, hang on. One more thing. Okay, I've always wanted to say that. Steve Jobs. So we've got two things actually. It's a disto drawer, which we'll probably do in a second, and I just want to show you what's coming up for November. We think. So the team behind the BLK360 have done it again. Looking forward to having that available for and see how that disrupts the market. But certainly it's a combination of all things, but certainly from the creators of Disto, the #1 laser distance in the world, and photogrammetry and a whole heap of other tools and tricks in there.